Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chaser, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout. Mic check, lights flash, game time, stay ready. 2 vets in the zone, keep the pressure real heavy. Big hits, big plays, yeah, we breaking it down. Truth rings in your speakers, every word is the crown. From the north side hustle to that southern flame. Midwest grind, west coast of the game. Sports talk kings, yeah, we wear that crown. Turn it up, let them know it's about to go down. Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chaser, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout.
It's about to go down.
Yes. What up, Dallas Mike? You know what I'm saying? You are now listening to the sounds of Sports Reports is Ordered. Brought to you by the one and only world-renowned, world-famous Mr. Logical. By myself, the unorthodox statistician, 2-5. We got a lot to get into tonight. You know, it's Hall of Fame week. We're going to find out who gets in. Me and Mr. Logical will talk about that a little bit. You know, we got some NBA trades going down. You know, James Harden on another team. Get out of here. And then we're going to start it off with some football talk, though. So like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things. Do all the good things. Liquid Death in hand. And let's get to it. So, Mr. Logical, you hit me up this morning.
Absolutely.
With a wild topic, I must say, because it was kind of out of left field. I wasn't ready for it. You know what I'm saying? But let's talk about it. You know what I'm saying? What's football weather?
Football weather is outside weather. I'm good with the turf field. Like I said, my son plays high school football. This is the first year they had a turf field. We played multiple games, lacrosse, football games. So at the time that he's been active in sports since we moved to Jersey. And our area is always like, yo, how come we don't have a turf field? Everywhere we go, we have a turf field. We were playing lacrosse on grass. We were playing football games on grass. The youth team couldn't always get the high school field because they were concerned about multiple games being on the grass and tearing the grass up and the season not being prepared. So we got the turf field. But we deal with the cold. You're in the bleachers. You deal with the rain. You deal with the wind. You deal with the sun. We put the visitors on that side, so when the sun sets, it's right in their eyes. So it's very deliberate. I just think that the conversation that prompted me to send to you was Mike Florio and the Barstool guys. They were having a conversation. Mike was talking about how a couple of years ago when Damar Hamlin tragically died on the field and had to be revived, Buffalo didn't get to finish that game, and they had a whole scenario built out to where if they were to make the AFC Championship game, they were going to play that game in Atlanta. So the message went out that that was a possibility. And within a matter of a shorter period of time, they sold 50,000 tickets. And he was like, that was like a aha moment to NFL execs. Like, hey, people want these neutral site games. And I'm like, yeah, that's what the Super Bowl is for. The Super Bowl is a neutral site game. We've already argued this with the home field advantage for college football when it comes to the playoff. How the second round, you get a bye, but you don't get a home game. You know, so it's like, it's that same thing. It's like you're already going to sell this product. And I imagine, I'm going to go just some rudimentary numbers. Say it's $2 billion for a college football game they'll make over the course of like the college football playoff. If you play at the home field, like if you played at Michigan, the TV ratings are still going to be the same. You're still going to make that same money. You don't need Jerry World or the arena that the Cardinals play in, or even the Georgia Dome, or the Mercedes-Benz, the compressors you call it. You don't need that for the sport. So I'm not sure why college football is so beholden to this idea that you need these neutral site fields and have to be NFL fields. So with the NFL is like you have iconic opportunities and iconic advantages. Like if the Chargers had to play a game in Baltimore in late January, That's advantage Baltimore because they play all their games outside. Potentially it's cold. You got the water off the bay, the water off the ocean. It's like that's the advantage you have to being acclimated to this environment. You came here from southern sunny California, and now you got to come here and play me at 4:30 in the afternoon, and it's, 29 degrees and windy. That's my advantage. That's why I won more games than you. I get that advantage. We don't need to be equals in a situation where I've earned the advantage over you.
So, I've had this conversation over the years, but with SEC fans, because, they used to talk about how they would beat everybody in the other conferences and things like that. And I would always tell them, like, well, half the bowl games are in your neck of the woods, Tampa, Georgia, wherever, like all down south, the Sugar Bowl. And, so I started thinking about games that had weather. You know what I'm saying? And I came up with the Ice Bowl. I remember the NFC Championship game between the Packers and the Giants where Brett Favre threw the interception in overtime. The Snow Bowl in '92, Penn State and Notre Dame. A&M and Mississippi State, had a blizzard in the Independence Bowl. And don't forget the Tuck Rule. So, like, a bunch of epic moments that happened in weather. So
Tom Brady going to Arrowhead wearing a scuba suit.
Yeah, and winning matters. Yes, winning matters. You know what I'm saying? I have the advantage. That's why it's called home field advantage. It's not called meet me halfway. And like when we talk about this, when I was talking to these SEC fans, they act like Ford Field didn't exist. Lucas Oil didn't exist. And you don't even got to take it there. They would say, well, why would we go play Ohio State, in November or whatever, where it's going to be 30 degrees? Because that's football. That's
where they live. That's where their stadium is. Their stadium isn't in Florida, and they want to just make it tricky, and they want to play a game outside in Ohio.
Well, even then,
this is where we play. We're an Ohio football team. We play here outdoors at the shoot.
Well, either way, you still can't win. You still can't win because people were complaining about the Super Bowl at MetLife. You know what I mean? And
well,
so
that
it was still.
Whole, we talked about that before. I knew a couple of guys that went. It kind of worked out in their favor because logistically, getting people from Denver to get the stadium sold out and getting people from Denver to Seattle to New York logistically is a nightmare. I love New York, but that stadium is a logistical nightmare. Vegas should get all the Super Bowls personally because I think it has all the hotel rooms and everything else. But essentially, MetLife Stadium is right on the river. And then the turnpike and all the loops go right to the stadium. But if you were to fly into one of the major airports and you book in a hotel, you're on a complete. You're not in Jersey. You're in New York State, New York City, and then you still got to get. If you land at LaGuardia, you're in Queens. I think JFK is somewhere around that same general area. You still got to get around. It just was a logistical nightmare to try to get people from.
Well, I know
the surrounding places to that.
We had this.
The weather was irrelevant. They scored 43 points.
We had this AFC Championship game a couple of weeks ago, New England and Denver, and the second half, the apocalypse came upon us. But those teams wasn't going to score anyway. Like I don't think
and the cold weather teams.
Well, but the weather, the game was already a defensive struggle.
Yeah, but with that being said, the Kansas City Miami playoff game a few years back, where it was like negative something. I believe they moved the Buffalo Pittsburgh game because it was like going to be it was going to be dangerous to travel in.
Right, the lake effect.
So that's one thing. Like if it's like, hey, we have 8 to 10 inches of snow and we can't get people in and out of the stadium safely, that's one thing. But if you get there and it's just cold, and the fans know it's cold, so like there's fans who stayed at the Kansas City game, got frostbite, lost limbs, appendages.
Yeah, I went to a game.
That's terrible.
I went to a game in Baltimore back in 2000-ish. The Minnesota Vikings were coming in. It was the first Monday Night Football game that Baltimore had, since the Colts. So it was a big deal. And, me being a sports fan that I am, the Ravens ain't even my team. Even though I'm from there, I was like, I got to be in the building. Like, that's just a historic moment that I have to be in the building. and it was 12 degrees. It started snowing around halftime a little bit. But you know what? Okay, I'm a man. It's football. I'm okay.
I went to my first time going to a Falcons Jets game. I've gone to a couple since I lived here. I was in Vegas like Tuesday through Saturday. Checked the forecast. I had 2 tickets for me and my son to go to the game. So when I was in Vegas, I was flying back on the red eye Saturday night from Vegas. I was landing here and I was going to, get my car, pick my son up, go to the game. I knew it was going to be raining. So I'm in the Walmart in Vegas before I catch my flight, buying all our rain gear, buying hot hands, buying the stuff that we needed to go sit and watch the game the next day because I knew what the weather was going to be. It sucked. It rained the entire time. And Matt Ryan had to go to shotgun because he kept dropping the ball every time he was on the center. He was changing his gloves every possession, it seemed like. But that's the advantage. That almost helped the Jets win the game, like him making that mistake because of the weather.
But
put them in a position where like they were only down 5 at the end of the game because he kept fumbling the ball and they couldn't call certain plays. That's the advantage to the Jets. It's like, hey, we play out here. You guys play in a dome. This is my advantage. Now we got the ball back.
But where did these people come
down
from?
5 points.
Where did these people come from?
They come from that area.
No, I mean that like the people that are all. No, that's bad weather, and that like we never heard that growing up. Like nobody
because
ever.
Everybody is betting the over on how many yards Dalton Kincaid is going to get. Everyone's betting the touchdowns that Drake May is going to throw. He's not going to throw 2+ touchdowns in the snow. Probably, he's not going to. They're not your. Keon Coleman might not get you 65 yards in the snow. He's not that big play threat. Maybe when on carpet or maybe on the turf, yeah, he could get you those numbers, and then the bets make sense. But just bet the under when it's snowing hard, and you'll be fine. So, but this is another thing. I think Chicago's getting a new stadium, and they're talking about
a roof
in Indiana. I think Cleveland's getting a new stadium, another place with the roof. I know Minnesota. They always had a dome, so when they got their new stadium, they got a dome, and that's fine. It's about 11. I think it's 11 teams.
Well, a lot of it too is because they want to get Super Bowls at some point. They want to get that Super Bowl money at some point, so that's driving a lot of this too.
You want to get money for one day over the course of 5 years, and then like Buffalo, I think they were getting the dome, and I was watching the same like Barcat and a Barstool Sports Network kind of guys. And one of the guys broke down, he was like, how many hotel rooms do we have in Buffalo? And the guy was like, I don't know. It was like a regular number, like 5,800. It was it wasn't even like a crazy number. It was like, we have this many hotel rooms and this radius around the stadium. It was like, even if we get the dome, where are we going to put the people? We're probably going to get 70,000, 80,000 seats in the dome. Best case scenario. Where are you going to put all the people to fill that stadium for a Super Bowl in Buffalo? You probably won't.
Yeah, besides the fact that who the hell wants to go in January, February anyway?
Dallas, Atlanta logistically, like I said, I went to the concert last year. You would think that they would have a better plan considering how many big games happen there just because of the location of the stadium as far as like the city that it's in. Logistically, nightmare. It's like down the hill, in between the buildings, right downtown. It's 2 lanes getting there, 2 lanes getting out. They had a stampede at the Beyonce concert because some girl saw a bug and freaked out. But it was like literally everybody in the show was trying to catch the bus out because you couldn't drive and park there. So it just was like, so logistically, they didn't even really worked out the kinks. But I've driven by the Dallas Stadium, middle of nowhere, perfect. Same thing in Phoenix, middle of nowhere, perfect. You can set up whatever you need. Vegas, obviously, off of the strip, but all of the hotels, the Ubers, everything runs just fine. So certain places are just better at,
architecture.
Architecture, like just the structure of the.
Yeah, I got you. All right, so so play your football outside. But then, of course, we got the Hall of Fame this week. On Thursday night, in fact. We will find out who gets into the Hall of Fame this year. So, of course, there's people like Torrey Holt and Reggie Wayne who have been waiting their turn. You got your new jacks that are automatically probably going to get in, your Drew Breeses and your Larry Fitzgeralds and people of that ilk. So, allow me a second here to pull this here up. And, so we're going to look at the 15 finalists that made it this far. So let's get that zoom going there. So there you go. So as you can see here, I see those two people that are going to get in. I think there's no doubt in my mind that Drew Brees and Larry Fitzgerald are getting in. Then you got your people like Luke Kuechly, right? Eli Manning, who has his 2 Super Bowls. Okay. Terrell Suggs, players of this ilk. So, Mr. Logical, who should get in? Who you putting in?
So we go on 3 locks.
That's what you wanted to do? Yeah, let's do it.
All right. I'm going to go Drew Brees, Kuechly, Vinatieri. I think those are my 3 locks for this week. I think Vinatieri because the kicks were huge, 4 Super Bowls. I think Luke Kuechly because I think people just love him the way they love Patrick Willis, where he just was so dominant for so long, even though it was short. His career was kind of cut short. And I just think Brees because he just was like an overachiever and just kind of overcame like his size, and then he brought that passion back to New Orleans.
So I hate the Hall of Fame. We talk about this every year because they have their limits on, usually there's 5 players that get inducted. When I look at this list, 5 ain't enough, because Brees needs to get in. Fitzgerald needs to get in. Torrey Holt, Luke Kuechly, Reggie Wayne, Darren Woodson, maybe, Jason Witten. Like, all of them have a case to get in. But then I said all those names, and I didn't even say the 3rd leading rusher of all time, Frank Gore. Now, I've had this conversation with El Residente many times. Hopefully he ain't watching right now to light me up in the comments. But you know what I mean? But when I look at him compared to his contemporaries in the top 5, top 10 of the NFL rushing totals, he's not like the others. You have your Barry Sanders, your Walter Paytons, your Emmitt Smiths, Derrick Henry's in the top 10 now. Adrian Peterson. Frank Gore is not of that ilk. You know what I'm saying? But you have to honor the fact that he's the 3rd all-time leading rusher. You have to. So I don't know if he's going to get in this time. I think he's going to wait 4 or 5 years probably. But then you got people, luckily for him, Phillip Rivers done reset his clock. But you're going to have the Pounceys coming through in a few years. It's going to get crazy, But anyway, so for me, I don't know, Mike. I like Jason Witten because, he's 4th all time in receptions.
Yeah, I think he retired 2nd or 3rd. I think he was up there when he retired.
I know he's 4th now. He retired 5th in touchdowns by tight ends. Kelsey has 1 more than him now.
Yeah, and his receptions are all time, not just tight ends. That's all time.
That's all time behind Jerry Rice and them.
Pitchers. Yeah.
And in the yard, I mean, yeah, you could say that they probably did force the ball to him, but
a lot of to third or 4th all time in the history of the sport.
I mean,
there's
you
only
could
so
argue
much sports feed you could do, especially with the tight end. It's not like he was like super athletic and fast. He just was effective at catching the ball.
Yeah.
I don't know if he had the impact without the playoff runs. Without the moment, I think his moment is when he ran without his helmet.
And Torrey Holt, you know what I mean? He's the guy that my heart bleeds for. You know what I mean? I think he should have been in the Hall of Fame 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
And but then you have Reggie Wayne, who, when it comes to those two, has the Peyton Manning stimulus to a degree. So, when you got to separate people. He's got the Peyton Manning. And I don't know, Mike, you know what I'm saying? The 0 touchdowns in the playoffs, I'm not going to hold against him because what the hell have the Cowboys done in the playoffs the last 30 years? You know what I mean?
For Jason Witten.
Yeah. So I'm not going to blame, you know what I mean?
Playoff impact is like, because you don't have, I think the 1 year in the booth that people were like, this is terrible. Normally it's like when you go to media, like it raises your Hall of Fame stock. We saw it with Randy Moss. T.O. waited 3 times to get in. Randy Moss got in first ballot. Randy Moss had way more like actual trouble while he was in the league. I don't know like what redemption people felt like if he kind of turned his career around at any point. But I just know for a long time he was like in the trouble. T.O. just was a bit of a diva and a headache, but we talk about this all the time. Every quarterback he played with had their best career when he started games for that team. Every single one got contracts off of T.O., had their best statistical career. McNabb,
and that's the same thing that's going to help
Garcia, Carson Palmer, whoever he was with the Bills. Every single quarterback had their best career with T.O. He still waited 3 years.
And I think that's what's going to help Matthew Stafford.
Fitzgerald's going to be in that.
And I think that's what happens with Matt Stafford, because Megatron's in the Hall of Fame, had his best season with him. Cooper Kupp had his year where he almost broke Calvin Johnson's record with him. You know, you see what Puka's doing right now. So yeah. I think, you know, Matthew Stafford, you know, when he went to the Rams, I didn't have him as a Hall of Famer, you know, at that time. Even when he won that Super Bowl, I still wasn't so sure, but I think he's in there now. But Frank Gore, yeah, he's going to be the one that I don't know, like, what you do with him, because you can't deny the accomplishment.
Yeah, Mike, and I get it. Yeah, but he still waited 3 times to get in.
Yeah, that's because the Hall of Fame is stupid. You know what I'm saying? We just had the conversation about Bill Belichick last week.
Shouldn't even be a vote.
Shouldn't even be, yeah, he shouldn't even have had to been voted in. Like, you just be like, oh, Bill is eligible. What size you wear?
Hoodie. Send us the hoodie. Send us the hoodie so we can put
unless, like I said, somebody is going to come out and boldly say, I'm not voting him in because he cheated. Now, whether people agree with that or not is a whole nother conversation. But if that's how you feel, put it on wax. Put it on wax. And I don't know, Mike, because everybody cheated. You know, Jerry Rice, you stick him. You know, like everybody cheated. The Patriots weren't the only team that got caught doing Spygate type things. The Vikings and the Chargers got caught too. They just weren't successful. So
yeah,
you know what I mean? It didn't matter.
Brees is my is my lock, but his team was out here doing Bounty Gate. So it was like everybody's out here doing something.
But the problem is if you don't let Bill Belichick in, then you just got to burn the whole league, because Goodell and them destroyed those tapes. Well, no, I'm just saying they destroyed the tapes and all that stuff. They and Tom Brady, that's a good point. You know, they're not going to hold Tom Brady out.
If you don't let Belichick in because you feel like he cheated, like if you're a voter, like, because I don't think enough of voters are going to hold that against him, because the longevity, like even if you cheat a little bit, like you don't cheat your way to winning 8 Super Bowls and being in as many as a head coach, and then obviously as an assistant with probably one of the greatest defenses that you can see that's been conceived. But if you're just going to be straight up like, yo, he cheated, then
stand on
Brady. Yeah, Tom Brady. You can't give Tom Brady your vote. And I don't think what occurred, what transpired as far as like this cheating is enough to kind of circumvent their entire
and especially with Tom Brady, you know, being a part of the media now. And, you know, he's the only player that has, you know, 7 Super Bowls. You know, the next player I think has 5.
Charles Haley.
Charles Haley. Yeah. So, you know, it's just tough. You know what I mean? Like I would let him in, you know, but like I said, if you're not going to, just stand on it. I saw they talked to Tony Dungy today, and he wouldn't reveal whether he voted for Belichick or not. And I don't know if he was just trying to do the honor the process thing. You know, like, I'm not going to tell you my vote.
If he never mentions his vote, then if he's notorious for not sharing his vote, then I get it.
But, right.
Yeah, but like I said,
but Luke Kuechly
is he's my wild card lock, so to speak. I just think I think his allure has increased every year since he's retired.
Well, I thought he was going to get in last year.
I think I think him doing the coaching with Greg Olson and Jonathan Stewart out of North Carolina, I think people are just kind of looking for a linebacker like him. So if you get compared to him at the combine, that's the guy they use when they want to compare like athletic white linebackers. He plays a lot like Kuechly. He understands space like Kuechly. And he's a really smart player. And I think that hearing that name over and over again, we talked about it with the MVP voting. It's like, how do you have 80 people voting and 75 people think Jokic is MVP? But meanwhile, we can get 8 people in a group chat and we got 6 different answers. I think it's like it's a byproduct of that. Like, you're going to hear that name so much that.
No, I think Terrell Suggs. I like the Terrell Suggs thing. You know what I mean? And he has a Defensive Player of the Year award, just like Luke Kuechly. So I was looking at Luke Kuechly from the standpoint of how do you match up with Patrick Willis? That's what I wanted, because they both had fairly short careers. So how do those two match up? Because Willis is already in. And, looking at it, Kuechly has the Defensive Player of the Year award that Willis doesn't have. As a linebacker, he has 10 more interceptions. Not that linebackers do that, but just pointing that out. Willis has 43 more tackles and, some more, forced fumbles, four more forced fumbles. So I say all that to say that
43 tackles for those guys, that's just 3 or 4 better games.
Yeah, and I think that they're basically even. But if you let Willis in and Kuechly has that Defensive Player of the Year, then that would probably lean towards Kuechly getting in. Now, with Terrell Suggs, I love Terrell Suggs. T-Sizzle, one of my favorite players that I've ever watched play. I wonder, though, and this is probably me talking to Raph too much, I wonder if he's going to suffer from, you had Ray Lewis beside you syndrome. You know what I mean?
Listen, you took the candy right out of my bag. Pause. So I was thinking the same thing. Like, you had such a formidable defense, and a defense whose reputation was formidable. Even though you're a part of the reason why it had that reputation, you can kind of run off multiple names, or just say the Ravens defense, and you kind of matriculate into that conversation. And like I said, as Defensive Player of the Year, standing out. Mike said 8th all time in sacks. And he probably was higher when he retired. He's probably been passed up by at least 1 or 2 people maybe since he's retired. But that you're next to Ray Lewis, in front of Ed Reed, and you were surrounded by guys who were of that trajectory. They might not all play as long as Ed Reed. They might not all play as long and as well as Ray Lewis, but all of those guys were kind of cut from that same Baltimore Raven cloth. And it's like, were you one of the standouts, or were you one of the fit-ins when they're making a discussion between, someone like Kevin Williams or Terrell Suggs? Like, are you like, did he stand out more in his position than you did? And were his defenses better than you? So it's like, I think that's gonna.
And I think he might have to wait because Darren Woodson should have been in. You know what I mean? Kevin Williams has a great case. You know what I mean? But so as I'm going up and down this list, I remember Willie Anderson. I ain't going to sit up here and act like I'm a offensive line aficionado, but I've heard that name enough to know how good he was. But like Breeze is
probably has one of those stats like he's never was called for holding his whole career or something like that. He probably has one of those kind of stats. Like, I've heard it. Like, who was it Starks? No, Jonathan Ogden. Ogden for the Ravens. I remember he had one of those stats where it was like he never gave up a sack or never got called for holding, some crazy longevity stat.
And
Willie Anderson is one of those.
But Eli is the guy that, of course, is going to dominate the attention if he doesn't get in.
He's not a Hall of Famer. Is that simple?
I'm not saying that he is or isn't. I don't think he is, but I do think he will get in eventually.
I don't think so.
I think he will. Last name, beat Tom Brady twice. You know what I mean? Like they live for stuff like that. That's why I don't necessarily
like 118 and 118. And
he was
the regular season.
I don't necessarily.
It was something
like,
definitely dead set mediocre.
I don't necessarily like using Super Bowls as a Hall of Fame requisite. You know what I mean? Like you're either a Hall of Famer or you're not. You know what I mean? I don't like it.
Without those 8 games, and I get it, those 8 games are very important. So even if you weighted it like a test, you got 50s on all your assignments. All your assignments for the whole year, you were dead average. And then on the final, you knocked it out the box. How much did you really perform in this class? And
you still gonna get a 75.
It was like, that's not Hall of Fame level. Like you say, led the league in interception 3 times. Yes, he was a dog. He was an Iron Man. His last name is Manning. But when you look at the totality of his career, he has 8. Because it's not like he had a bunch of other like great playoff runs that fell short of the Super Bowl. He had those 8 games, and I think maybe 2 other wins.
He only made the playoffs. His team only made the playoffs 6 times in his 16-year career. What we doing? Like, you know what I mean? So from that standpoint, but I do think he'll get in off of media love. Who his brother is, the last name. I think he eventually gets in.
The amount of people who are gonna have such outstanding cases, like we didn't even mention Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald did nothing wrong his whole career. I think he has something like.
That's why I think he has to get in now.
He has more tackles than drop passes in his career. That's how impressive his career was. But everybody can't get in, and we're gonna get to the point now where all of these names we're gonna have HD footage of. Their last few years, we're going to have Drew Brees losing to the Rams in the playoffs. We're going to have him losing to Tampa Bay to pretty much end his career. We're going to have games where some of these guys played 2 years too long.
So
the J.J. Watt syndrome, where it's like, we're going to have that. Yeah, you were great for this spot. Aaron Donald probably did it the best. He was like, I dominated. I got the ring. I played a couple more years. I'm getting triple team every play. I'm out. 5 years, give me my gold jacket, because we don't have him trying to play defensive tackle for Denver next year.
So here's a question.
And I think that's what's going to hurt a lot. I think that's going to hurt Frank Gore. That many teams back to back years. None of them really impacting anything as far as like the scope, because like 2014 to 2020, that's a lot of HD footage. We can pull that up on YouTube right now, and it's like, what game was it? Like, damn, Frank Gore really did that. Adrian Peterson has that 296-yard game against San Diego in 07. I remember that.
So here's a question: how long is acceptable to make Vinatieri wait if he doesn't get in? So this is his 2nd year on the ballot. How long would he have to wait before people start to say, y'all ain't going to put Vinatieri in? Because he is a kicker. But, you know what I mean? Obviously.
We'll see. Like I said, I'm going on a limb. That's not, That's my guy on the limb. I think, like I said, I got Drew Brees as a lock. I like Kuechly as a wild card, and going on a limb. I just think Vinatieri, I think with New England being the team that they were because of his kicks, Like Tom
Vinatieri's a legend, Mike.
he put all those kicks through. Like he misses that kick against Oakland, and Tom Brady might not be starting for New England the next year because Drew Bledsoe is getting the big money.
So
it looks like the NFL looks. Atlanta has a ring if Vinatieri misses that kick, because I don't know if Tom Brady is still in New England, and I don't know if anyone's coming back from 28-3. But the fact that kick went through and everything else that kind of followed, especially the trajectory of Tom Brady's career because of those kicks, I think that's the impact.
So I think that you could expand, but you can't expand. I know why they don't have more than 5, because they want everybody to be able to showcase and have their speech and have their moment. So there's only so much allotted time, TV time, whatever it might be, to these situations. And I know they have some events on Saturday as well. So it's hard to expand from that standpoint. So I don't know, but I don't know. Like it's tough, man, because
some of them was like the kick against St. Louis is like 48 yards.
Well, the kick against Carolina, Carolina kicked the ball out of bounds on the kickoff, and they got it at the 35. So I don't know. I think Vinatieri deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Like I said, I agree with Mike somewhat as far as I can't put Vinatieri in over,
he just was the kicker for the most extensive recent dynasty.
I'm not putting him in over subs.
Been doing anything. Yeah, but I don't think the distance is the thing. It's the 4 Super Bowls that he's kicked field goals in. He has 4 rings. Like when Peyton Manning couldn't get a ring, he got Vinatieri and immediately got a ring because Mike Vanderjagt couldn't keep a kick through the uprights. Like that's how important the kicker is. Peyton Manning plays in more playoff games if they had a consistent special teamer like Vinatieri. They get Vinatieri, he gets a ring. So it's not just the distance, it's the fact that we had this lengthy dynasty being the Patriots, the 2001,
2001 up until 2018.
Yeah, like they went to 9 Super Bowls in that window and 14 AFC Championship games. And he was the kicker for a long period of that. And then he went to another team that couldn't seem to get over the hump. He kicked another one through.
You know what, Mike? I'm putting you in timeout, Mike. But Mr. Logical,
the kicker for a dynasty gets in.
James Harden gone again.
I don't know what his goal is.
James Harden to the land for Darius Garland in a 2nd-round pick. Yay, nay, or indifferent?
Indifferent.
Tell me more.
I just don't know what James Harden gets you in Cleveland. I feel like he plays a lot like Donovan Mitchell, but not as much above the rim. He might be better on defense now that he's kind of like just not exhausted from his usage. Like, we talk about the Houston days when he was on that crazy run for like 3 or 4 years. I'm just not sure like what his goal is. So it's like, is he trying to be competing for championships? Or is he just sick of being in LA?
Right.
I mean, I'm just not sure like what you're gonna get out of James Harden.
Well, I think that James Harden is looking mortality in the face. He's looking at this thing going, I got 2-3 years left of even being whatever I am right now, which is lesser than he already was. With that being said, the Clippers have been a lot of people's wild card and sleeper for the last couple years. And this year they started out the box really slow. Now, every time they get on a winning streak, Kawhi got to take some time off. So I think that he's just looking at this as, I don't know if he wanted to go to Cleveland per se, But I think he's looking at it as like, this is done, man. Like, enough of you.
I mean, I think it's a good team. It's just I'm not sure what he brings after March. Like just historically, he doesn't really turn it on in the playoffs, and I can't imagine that changing now. And then considering Cleveland might be at a bit of a disadvantage as far as like the other top, because Cleveland's probably like 4 right now, 4 or 5, if I had to
Yeah,
guess.
somewhere around there, yeah.
I just think teams 1, 2, and 3, and 4 are just markedly better than them. So I think the move just puts them out of the playoffs earlier in the Eastern Conference than it would in the Western Conference. I think that's all. That's all I really think this move does.
I kind of like it. I don't think, obviously, I'm not looking at James Harden as a hero. He's going to come in, save the day, any of that type of stuff. But when I look at this, Darius Garland has only played 26 games this year. He hasn't played since January 14th. He missed the start of the season, with the toe injury. So you bring Harden in. He's a veteran, if nothing else. He's a ball handler, if nothing else. If you remember, back when the Nets had that thing going on with Kyrie and KD, he ended up kind of being the de facto point guard so that Kyrie could get his shots and cook. And I think that's what he does for Donovan Mitchell, because me and you always had these conversations about Garland and Mitchell being together. You hope that they don't go 6 for 18 in the same game because neither one of them is going to pass the ball. Now they got a guy that is willing to pass. James Harden will take shots, but he is a willing passer. And I think that's what Cleveland needs, is somebody, because they're talking about potentially trading Lonzo as well. They already traded DeAndre Hunter. So I think at this point,
you have Lonzo Ball there, who's a point guard, pass first point guard, and you can't figure out how to get him to pass the ball first set, but you're going to bring in James Harden and turn him into a pass first point guard. It doesn't seem
he just hasn't been playing that well this season. It has nothing to do with can you get him to do this or that. He's just not. You know what I mean? They already traded Hunter. So I think at this point, this is their version of we're putting our chips all in, because we've been talking about the Knicks, right? Should they trade Cat? And just 2 weeks ago, the Knicks lost 9 out of 11 games. There's no Jason Tatum, and he's not walking through that door. Orlando hasn't been as good as I thought Orlando was going to be. So as I'm looking at the East, this thing is open. We got to deal with the 76ers, maybe? Like, Embiid has held up, but is he going to? Is he going to keep holding up? And then when it comes to the Clippers, that's the move I don't understand. I don't understand it from the Clipper side for this season. Going forward,
I think they're trying to keep people in the Intuit Dome.
They go trade, Mike. Yeah.
And getting a young star.
Yeah.
Because Kawhi, they know Kawhi and them knees are packing up.
But this year is over because he can't even keep up with Darius Garland if he was playing. So, and there's still talks that Cleveland might be in talks to get Anthony Davis as well. So they might not be done yet. If they do that, then I have no idea what the hell's going on.
Older, slightly
more injury prone, yeah,
and less formidable in the playoffs. That sounds like a Dan Gilbert kind of move.
But see, even if they were to get Anthony Davis and it didn't work, having Harden, I think, is the key here, because we saw it in Houston. When you peel away him and Chris Paul, those weren't good teams. Those weren't players that you desire to have on your roster.
He was playing with an energy level. Yeah, keep in mind, that was like 10 years ago, Mike.
But that's the thing, Mike. But that's the thing. I think Lonzo's gone. I think Lonzo's gone. Now you forgot the name that I thought you were going to say. Because they did get Keon Ellis, Oh, you did say Dennis, my bad. I was looking for the last name. They did get Ellis, 40% three-point shooter, and that's off the catch and stand still. You know what I mean? Dennis Schroeder, we saw the leadership that, laugh if you want, we saw the leadership that he brought to the Pistons last year. And he had that team grounded headed into the playoffs. Tyson is more of a wing. Tyson's more of a wing, so I don't know if he necessarily messes up that apple cart, and he's only been playing a lot because of Garland's injury too. So I think
you're 51 games in and you made this many moves. how long does it take? Because you're 51 games in. We are about
We are 12 days away from the All-Star break.
12 days from the All-Star break. Season ends like March 31st, maybe first week of April.
Yeah, maybe first week of April, yeah.
I think the first week of April playoffs start.
Yeah, because I think the play-in is usually around the 16th or so.
Yeah, so we're getting some games, a few basketball games in, acclimation over the next week and a half. Then you get about 8 days off. Maybe you can combine your time and work then, and guys get kind of acclimated to each other, and then you come back. Like I said, they're not by no means are they out of it. It's just that the team that was atop the Eastern Conference Finals or Eastern Conference last year, and like the last couple of years, has kind of really been gelling. I think you kind of broke that team up, and now you're trying to rebuild.
But it wasn't going anywhere. Like, they might have made the finals. I picked them to make the finals this year, but they weren't going to win it. You know what I mean? And I think that's why, because you talk about there's only one team that wins the title, all that stuff. It is absolutely true. But teams don't look at it that way.
Really built. It's probably only 6 teams that are really, truly, really have a shot.
But teams don't look at it that way. Teams look at it.
You can't, because you have to be able there and perform. But I mean, the NBA is different this year. No one's really pulling away. We thought the Thunder were going to be on a I don't think 5-7 kind of season, but they've kind of just come back to just being a regular top tier team.
But to your point,
better than everybody else.
But to your point, though, Houston needed James Harden to do what he did with the usage rate and all that stuff like that. The Clippers needed James Harden to put it on his back sometimes because Kawhi was always missing so much time. And even when they had Paul George missing all this time, we'll get to Paul George in a minute. And then of course, you know what I mean? Now you're looking at Harden. It's kind of like, well, I don't need Harden. If I'm Cleveland, I don't need Harden to score 30. I don't need him to even score 25.
Yeah, but what do you do for me that I
finally have a point guard? I finally have a point guard.
Do you have that gear or that space or that mental fortitude available to use the your veteran status is, second to none. Like, you've been in the league, MVP, scoring titles, an icon on the floor, off the floor. But if all I need you to be is just decent, good, 16 points, 8 assists, if that's all I'm needing from you for the next 31 games, what happens that night where I might need you to drop 32?
He still got it in there. Like, he's been balling this year.
In April.
No, not in April. Not in April. That's what Donovan Mitchell is for. But also, this is the first time in a while that they've really had a point guard. I don't view Darius Garland as a point guard. He's not setting up the offense. Guard. Right. And Donovan Mitchell ain't a point guard. So I think it adds a different element to Cleveland than what they've had. And it's somebody that is not a point guard.
If I'm bringing in a point guard like James, I'm bringing a player.
No, but that's inside the building. That's inside the building. I'm talking about the opponent.
I'm thinking just figuring that out in 31 games. Where okay, he's gonna come here. And basketball players, I'm pretty sure basketball players. The guy's been playing basketball. I mean, he's damn near 40. He's probably been playing it. He's probably been better than everyone he's played against for the last 30 years of his life. So I'm pretty sure he can understand the difference between this baseline play and this baseline play and this floppy or whatever all these plays LeBron and JJ Redick are talking about on this podcast. But I'm just not sure what the 30-plus, 35-plus year old James Harden gives you. And what you can expect from him. I don't know what you can even.
Well, I think that's why you go get the Keon Ellis's, and you know what I mean. See, you making it a one-on-one game, Mike. This is a team game. James Harden could choke. He still made conference finals. Is that other people that you probably think is better than James Harden didn't get to?
I think
he definitely does choke.
I think it's just a matter of I don't.
Well, actually,
I'm not sure if the consistency. The backpack.
Choking might not even be the best word when we talk about his usage rate. He's probably just worn down.
Like he dropped 50 that year against Boston.
Against Boston, yeah.
Yeah.
He won game one. See, this is the thing. Like, so we remember, because I always bring it up, when he played for Houston, they lost that
And
game
they missed
6 at home.
27 straight threes.
No, not that one. But
Well,
yeah, that
the
too.
one without Kawhi when they lost.
Yeah, the one without
6 at
Kawhi.
home.
He went 2 for 10 and they got blown out. But he also went to Boston, and put 50 without Joel Embiid playing.
Yeah, but the problem is the 2 for 10 is more indicative of how he performs in the playoffs. I don't think it's choking. I think he's just not a big game gamer.
Like, I just think he's
tired. He has the ability to drop. I don't think
because Kobe talked about this, right?
I don't think 10 shots is sufficient for a guy of his position. And even if he felt like he was off, then D'Antoni should have got him a layup, should have got him to the cup and got him some more free throws.
I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if I agree with that. Like he's been on some teams that, you know what I mean? I don't know. Like the reason that the Nets were contenders was because he got there and, like I said, let Kyrie slide into that role.
Yeah, but I think the Nets kind of did themselves. I think they tried to microwave a championship.
No, they did. They did.
And I think he
he was also an MVP candidate that year with them on his team.
Yeah, but he was because he just started passing the ball more. It wasn't like
he was a point guard, right? And that's why
he was like 22-9 or 22-10.
He took Houston to the Western Conference Finals way before Chris Paul showed up.
Yeah, but we're also talking a decade ago. And that's the thing. Like 2018 LeBron,
I just told you, Mike, he made the whole team better.
I think 2018 LeBron takes any team to the NBA Finals that you would have put him on that year because he traded away half the team at the trade deadline. 2026 LeBron, I can't lean on that particular year.
Definitely, and I'm not telling you to, y'all. But see, y'all keep trying to change the conversation. No, I'm not trying to change James Harden into we got to score 40. He got to score 40 for us to win. I'm just talking about.
I just don't know if I don't know if his impact is as vast as you believe it can be. I think you're looking at it more like, I think he can handle the ball. I don't recall seeing the moments where he wasn't the man putting up buckets where the games mattered and he was playing the role that you're kind of prescribing out for him in Cleveland. Like I don't see that game.
I mean, look, all I got to go off is I am not ignoring that, Mike. The Clippers ain't winning. Well, the Clippers are winning actually right now because, like I said, they've won 7 out of their last 10 actually.
Yeah,
but also like the Clippers are old. It's not just like you keep trying to reduce it to one player. Like Kawhi's been missing games.
I think they moved. I think they
like
held
20
on
games.
to. They held on to, and I think it's going to be something that a lot of these teams do. Who currently have the current legends on their team.
Right.
I think Westbrook is probably the only guy that teams are willing to kind of like, for lack of a better word, like just let go or discard. I think teams clamor more for Kevin Durant because I think they like the mystique of Kevin Durant, and he still performs well. But there's the level that he was at when he earned his legendary status.
It's a decline.
He can't get back to. But I think when you make a decision, him or Jalen Green, you're like, oh, KD can get me here. And I'm like, I don't know if KD can get you there in 2026, though, or 2027. I think Jalen Green can get you to where KD was in 2022 and then get better. But I don't know if, so it's like, I think what happened with like James Harden, certain guys they let leave LA because they kind of held on to James as a player, James also as a price tag, and James as a lord.
But that's my point. It's like because everything is pointing at Harden. Like, oh, the Clippers, whatever the case may be.
No, I think they did it.
No, not you. I'm talking to Mike right now. I'm talking to Mike right now.
I think they did it with Paul George. But Paul George we just went to Philly, like Evan Thompson said.
As if Kawhi hasn't missed games, Zubac missed like 20 games. It took Lopez probably 30 games to even look like some form of Lopez. So that ain't all Harden. You know what I mean? That's a bad team because they were old. They were just an old team. Whereas you're putting James Harden on a team that has the defenders down low. You know what I mean? So, like, his defensive weakness, you got Mobley shadowing on the other side, and you got Jared Allen at the rim. That's not going to be that big of a problem because you were already dealing with Darius Garland's lack of defense anyway. But now you have a guy that's willing to set up the other guys. Like, yeah.
He's a bigger body. So
he's a bigger body. Like, you know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not sitting up here trying to say that James Harden is going to sit up here and lead the Cavs to the promised land. I ain't saying that at all. You know what I mean? But I don't mind the move. But let's move on. We ain't got to keep talking about this. Yeah. So the Grizzlies, right? So I saw Vince Williams a couple of weeks ago arguing with Ja Morant. There's a lot of players that ain't won in the last 5 years, Mike. You know what I mean? Like, Vince Williams was arguing with Ja Morant during practice, and now he got traded. No, I'm just playing. Jaren Jackson over to Utah with John Conchar, Vince Williams, and Jock Landale for Walter Clayton, Kyle Anderson, Taylor Hendricks, and Georges Niang. And they got 3 first-round picks out of it. Well, you making that face like that's the first time you heard this trade.
I saw it and I was looking at some stuff and I was like thinking, what is Utah doing? Because Utah just has, Utah seems like they're in constant rebuild, but / entertainment. I think they just feel like, we can just put on 41 home games for our Utah faithful, and we're good. So I thought they were closer to tanking so they can get the young boy out of BYU. Maybe the NBA will set it up that they get him anyway. Memphis, if they move Ja, I'm not sure when the trade deadline. If they're gonna make, if they're gonna do their Thursday, if they're gonna do a full reset, I respect it. It's just you have to do that. You have to, as a team, recognize. All right, basketball is one of the unique sports where you can move your current young talent, start over, get the right coach in there, and be something within a couple of years if you're patient. Like if you just follow, and especially recently with the OKC model, because we talk about the microwave model when KD or KG and Ray Allen got traded to the Celtics and automatically moved them to the top of the East. And then LeBron battled them for a few years. He was like, we joining forces. I'm going down to Miami, taking Chris Bosh from Toronto, teaming up with D Wade. We're gonna do this thing. And then Golden State was like, oh, word, we're gonna go get KD from the Hamptons and bring him over here to San Francisco. We're gonna do that. And then they got to the point, I was like, okay, we don't have any more teams. Like we don't have that left. Short of the 20, getting AD from New Orleans to LA. But I think after that, I don't see like that kind of trade working, and everybody else seems to have been homegrown with a couple of top tier draft picks. Boston with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, and then you make a trade and get a veteran like Holiday in there. Same thing for Milwaukee. You have Giannis there. You get a guy in that you get some role players in there. You build, you win. Same thing that with Phoenix. Phoenix had their guys they drafted. They brought in Chris Paul. They made a run to the finals. So I think over the last 5 or 6 seasons, the build from within and get a vital piece and not a star piece has worked. So I think all these teams moving off of their stars, I'm fleecing the next team. So if I'm Milwaukee, whoever calls, I want everything you got available. So we'll
get to Giannis in a second. Yeah. But so look, like one of the worst things you could have ever called a guy in my late teenage years, early 20s was a save-a-hoe. That's exactly what the Jazz just did. Like Jaren Jackson, the Grizzlies paid him 5 years, $240 last season. And they took that off the Grizzlies' hands for no reason at all. His play is down, you know what I mean? So maybe you're thinking of change of scenery. But I think Jaren Jackson is the type of dude that he is. He's not Evan Mobley, for example, who is a defensive player that can consistently get you, say, 25 and 11. This guy, Jaren Jackson, he can get you 25 and 11 twice a month. But the rest of the time, it's going to be more like 18 and 9. And, he's always in the defensive player of the year talk. So, boom. So, anyway, Hendricks, from the Jazz, he was the ninth pick in the draft 3 years ago. And he played 40 games his rookie year. He played 3 games last year. And he's up to 33. I mean, I can't remember the number, but he played 3 games last year, 40 in his rookie year, and he's been missing a lot of games. So he came into the league as a shooter. He was supposed to be able to spread the floor. His career 3-point percentage is 36, and that's because, he didn't play much last year. It would have been much lower. As far as Walter Clayton goes, do you move Ja and give him the keys and say, hey, national champion, I saw what you did in March Madness, clutch time. You got the shooting that we've been dying to have. We had Desmond Bane, but he's gone. We don't got a lot of other shooting going on here. So I don't know who this move helps. It helps the Grizzlies from the standpoint of they get the 3 first-round picks. So that definitely helps. But Utah, no idea what they're doing. But then a team that usually isn't busy on the trade deadline was busy today. The Chicago Bulls. They went and got Anthony Simons for Vucevic. So let's start there. So my takeaway on this trade is Anthony Simons is contract for hire because, I think they're going to use him as a part of a big playoff push. 3-point shooting, speed, gets above the rim. But this is the last year of his contract, 4 years, $100 million. And Mike was just talking about Cleveland with all these guards. Chicago's collecting guards like they're baseball cards right now. They still got Kobe White, Giddey, Desomu, Terry. They got all the guards, right now. So I expect some more moves. And on top of that, the second trade, they went and got Jaden Ivey. So they added Anthony Simons.
He had a lot of promise, and I'm not sure and that's the thing. Sometimes you can just kind of get other people can just play their way into where you were kind of going to be able to excel, and you're just there. And I think that's the kind of move you make when you're making these trades and trying to pull up basketball.
Well, I feel like if you're the Bulls bringing in Ivy, because he's still on a rookie deal. And, he was hurt last year, and he just recently got back about a month ago. So I think that you're looking at it from the standpoint of we got Young. He's on a rookie deal. Now we don't got to pay Kobe White now. I think that's the key there. But they also traded Kevin Huerter. See, I got to look at it because it's so much. They sent Dario Saric to Detroit, who they just got in the DeAndre Hunter deal. And they said Huerter to Detroit. So Detroit gets another shooter because, they didn't bring back Malik Beasley. So they need some more shooting. Chicago gets Mike Conley, who I think is probably I'm thinking he might get bought out. You know what I mean? And then you got Minnesota picking up a protected swap with Detroit in this. So Mike Conley, if he gets out on the open market, one of those contenders is going to reach out.
That could have been your Cleveland deal. And you wouldn't have to trade for James Harden. Just kind of wait for somebody to get bought up. But of course, you can't always wait for that. Like I said, I think a lot of moves are setting up for maybe a late push. How do we look in these last 30 games? And how do we look as far as the bankroll? Depends on where we fall in the playoff race. Because the last thing you want to do is be one of these teams that is kind of stuck. I know a lot of owners, salary cap money is going up in every sport. I think the NFL is even going up to over 300 million.
Yep.
NBA salary cap is going up every year. You talk about Jaren Jackson, guys that signed a 5-year, $240 million deal, and they traded him. So, like, the money seems like it's just written on toilet paper sprinkled with fairy dust. But I think teams are looking like, yo, do we really want to pay all these players? Do we want to get on the apron? Do we want to get young? Do we want to get fast? Do we want to get explosive? Do we want to get young and cheap and then build our own core?
Right.
Because, like I said, some of these guys are just constantly moving around. So, yeah, I mean, you get some guys off of a good team's bench that's not getting any minutes, and you see if you could turn him into SGA. I know that's a stretch because he's an MVP, but I mean, people probably didn't think Derek Williams was gonna, turn into. Oh, sorry, Derek White. So you just gotta take these opportunities.
Well, I think with
I'm just
Vucevic,
looking at the Celtics
Mavericks
Dallas game right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think with Vucevic, they finally got a Porzingis replacement of sorts. He's obviously not as good as Porzingis, like potentially, but I think he does some of those same things because you've got to remember they lost Luke Cornett in the offseason too to San Antonio. So they needed something along those lines, but I don't know if he makes Boston any much more of a threat, because he doesn't play defense, and Boston needs that at the 5. So we'll see. I haven't heard Michael Porter Jr.'s name, in the last couple of weeks.
I heard the conversation that I saw, like Bill Simmons' podcast. He was talking about how well Michael Porter Jr. is playing and how it's amazing what happens when you get a guy out from another superstar shadow and he battles through injuries and you can see what he can do. He's like, you talk about the top tier NBA players. He's becoming one of those players. And then he goes, should Brooklyn trade him because he's helping them win too much?
Yeah.
It's like the state of the NBA is it's very odd.
Yeah.
But I understand what they mean.
Well, yeah, because like I always say, it sucks because you can't get in purgatory. Back in the day, the Atlanta Hawks, and I guess they still are, they're that proverbial team that's between 8 and 12 or something along those lines. And you don't get a top pick that way. Dallas did last year, but that's not the norm. So you can't rely on that. But, there's still cap rumors. Portland is one of the teams I'm hearing. There's rumors that LeBron might be on the move. I doubt it, but there's rumors. Sabonis to Toronto. I've been hearing that a little bit through the tea leaves, but that doesn't make sense because they just paid Pirtle, and I don't know if Sacramento wants Pirtle in a trade. But Mr. Logical, let's get to it. Are the Bucks finally going to trade Giannis? And if so, who should they trade him to?
See, that's all predicated on who determines the value. Is it Giannis? Does he say, I'm so good, I deserve to go to a contender? And does that contender say, well, cool, you got to give us a bunch of other pieces, too, to go along with it if you want some of our players? And then it does it just stall out? Like, I think you can probably move Giannis to a team that he won't like. And I'm not sure if he has a no trade clause or not, but I think Washington will probably mortgage their future, leverage their future, maybe get a couple of the teams involved, make it a 3 or 4 team trade. I think that'll happen. I think with all these other teams making simple moves, making moves where it's like, okay, can we turn a guy who was scoring 18 points? Can we trade him and get a guy that was scoring 13 points and give him a little bit more freedom? Maybe he can get up to 16 points. Like, I think teams are making like these analytics moves because I'm not sure who you are. Like, what team based off the standings says, Giannis makes us better without completely depleting your roster. Because if I'm Milwaukee, I'm not taking anything less than all the quality that you have available to trade within reason.
Right.
So if you're Philly, Like, what are you giving up to get Giannis? Grant, I know that's not a deal, but it's like if you are, I want everything. I want
Well, you were
everything.
going to give up Paul George until he decided to get suspended.
Yeah. So if I'm the Raptors, am I messing up the feng shui here? We're fourth in the East. Boston is, ahead of us. I think we could beat the Knicks. Pistons are probably like your most formidable opponent. Do you, do you rush things through there, or do you say, you know what? I think we're going to stay tight with this core that we have. Um, Miami. I think Miami always looks like they're going to make these kind of moves.
Yeah, they
I
always
just
got their
don't know
names in it. They never do it.
Yeah, yeah. I just don't know what the expectations for Giannis are like, because it was conversation that he wanted to go to New York. Now, if the money matches and New York wants to make a cat, Josh Hart,
Well, I think it
me,
would be. I think it would have to be. I think it
no.
would be Cat and Giannis straight up. Unless they added other
But
players on
that's
both
but if
sides.
not, but if I'm Milwaukee, I already have Miles Turner, so like I'm gonna need some other energy for
Well, what I
all
was what
and
I was
for a
talking
minimum,
about.
just at a minimum for like the stress that this guy's been putting us through, dangling us over. Like I need more than just another player
Well,
for
last off
him.
season when we talked about this, because we've been talking about this for like 2 years now.
That's what I'm saying.
But last off season when we talked about this, the name that I threw out there was Mikal Bridges. A deal centered around him. But I haven't heard that lately. Miami
That's
could
but you
could
got to.
offer.
That means Milwaukee has to be willing to give the keys to Mikal Bridges once he gets to Milwaukee.
Well, I mean, you're rebuilding at that point. So, I mean, go score a lot of points. Go be Michael Porter Jr., and then we'll trade you in the offseason and get younger. So the smart move for Milwaukee might be, as bad as this sounds, and especially coming from me, the move for Milwaukee might be to wait till the offseason. Where there's more of the lay of the land laid out. Who's got picks. Who's got this and that.
You know who fired
Let
their
the dust.
coach. You know who
Yeah,
wants. You know who's sick of their teammates.
Yeah, let the dust settle a little bit, but I'm sure the situation there is untenable for the most part. Miami's
Wait, the
talking
offseason might be the best. That might be the best move. It might not be the best move for Giannis, and maybe he
right.
pout, and maybe he plays, or maybe he doesn't. But in the same sense, it's like I'm not doing a 1-for-1 swap. You've been dragging this out and been kind of torturing us in the media for this a couple of years. Very similar to what New Orleans did with AD, where
So
they
what do
just
you
held on to him.
so what do you think of Tyler Hero? Well, actually, that wouldn't work because Khalil Ware makes Turner like it's the same thing with Cat. So how about Jaden McDaniels, Julius Randle, and Nas Reed?
Mm, is that money? All right.
That's the
So
problem. You got to get the
I'm
money. That's
giving
the
up.
problem.
I'm giving up my 6 man.
Who
I'm
hasn't
giving
been
up,
playing well this year?
but he. That's a role he fills very well. Julius Randle is streaky, so I think he can go into Milwaukee and fill the lead
Get all the shots.
ball handler scorer role. I think
Yeah.
he naturally fits in that more than Mikal Bridges when we
And
talk
I
about the
and
New
I, and
York
I,
deal.
and I know that they don't want to trade Jaden McDaniels per se because I know they had opportunities to do that before. But
I just think those guys provide such a value at three different spots on the floor, offensively and defensively, all game that Giannis can't compensate for.
do you think Anthony Edwards and Giannis would make OKC shake?
Not if you have to give up the 6 man, the defensive player, and then your other score.
And facilitator, yeah.
Yeah, and like Julius Randle. I just think like the haul that Giannis is worth. Like I'm not trying to diminish his value as a trade value. What he is worth in trade value is not good for your team in February. because I think the team that he goes is like the Carmelo. When Carmelo was in Denver, everyone was like, yo, if you just wait till the offseason, you can go straight to New York. They don't have to give up 4 or 5 players and 4 picks to get you. You
Right.
can just ride your time out in Denver, get as much playoff experience as you can because Denver was currently making the playoffs. Then you go to New York. But when they made the trade, they lost some pieces. Yes, granted they got guys around. You had Amari Stoudemire, you had the Jeremy Lin Insanity thing for a while, Tyson Chandler. You got some other pieces in there to fill it out, but you lost guys that were already contributing with that group. Whereas I think you make that deal in the all season, these guys can mesh well better and then make a bit bigger push in the playoffs going next year. But I get it. Sometimes you don't feel like you have next year. But this piece for Giannis should have been done last offseason. Because now,
Right.
like I said, any team that's going to make a move is like if I'm like you talk about the Minnesota deal. So you want one of my best on ball defenders, my best second guy, my best second option, and my first option off the bench. That's my whole game plan. Literally, I go into games putting my best defender on the other team's best scorer. I know that they're going to trap my best guy, so I need my second best guy readily available. And then when I'm giving those guys a break, either one of them, I need my best scorer off the bench. It's like, no, my game plan is wrecked if you take those 3 guys and just give me Giannis back.
Yeah, and then I've been hearing the Knicks are still interested in Drew Holiday. I've been hearing Lonzo to go team with his brother. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Thursday is the deadline. Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So I'm sure we're going to see a lot more fireworks between now and then. But Paul George, what we doing, man?
PEDs? Was it PEDs or was it?
I don't know what it was, but it's just why?
Doesn't man do anything not to play basketball.
You know what I'm saying? Well, I guess he tried to he's one of those people like Rich Paul, where you like, yo, why you on the podcast?
I think his career has just been one of those like it's no controversy in it. It's been some level of success. It's just been oddly entertaining, but not like in depth for you to follow enough.
Right.
Like to the point where like I don't know if people even knew he was on the Sixers. You know what I'm saying? Like because I think we talked about it once. Like, is he on the Sixers? But it was like that kind of thing. Like we don't know what his deal is. We don't know why he went to the Sixers. They didn't have any
he got 3 years, $45 million
each, right? No, he got a 4-year, 208.
Oh no, he got one of the he got the 4-year, 212. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like you have that going on, but yeah, it almost seems as if there's no like real impact on basketball.
Right.
This entire time you've been in it, and he's been involved in like major deals, like SGA to OKC. That was a Paul George deal.
Him getting the OKC,
him getting OKC was a big deal with Carmelo and Russ, and then LA with Kawhi personally asking for him, and then just all of a sudden, they get made to the Western Conference Finals without Kawhi. I believe they were all ended up getting hurt. Then he just inexplicably goes to Philly, where it's like you didn't fit there. Like you didn't even need to go there. You probably could have re-signed in LA.
Well, I like the fit. I just think that Philly had last year at least. I feel like they just had too many mouths to feed. Obviously Maxey got hurt and Embiid was hurt, but putting all that together. But then you had people like Eric Gordon who want shots. You got your Kelly Oubre's. It was just a lot of basket. Jarrett McCain came on. It was just a lot of basketball to go around. You know what I mean?
It was a lot of personalities playing basketball and not a well-built basketball team.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of people who were on the floor to all do the same thing. And then none of them were playing like the other end of the floor at the same like exceptional rate as they played offensively. So it's just like
And
you guys just out there just doing cardio.
but this year, they look like they hit on something with VJ Edgecombe. He's been very impressive this year. I saw somebody
Because he
say
came from the bottom.
I saw somebody say I
That's
can't
why,
remember
because
who
he
it
lived
was right
without
now.
water and AC and without amenities, and he had to grind. All these other guys come up through AAU, and they're the sons of basketball players or the sons of hedge fund managers. They come to the league with no dog in them. This
Yeah, I
dude
saw
has a dog in
somebody.
him.
I can't remember who it was, but there was someone that I saw that said that if they did a redraft, they would consider taking him over Cooper Flag. Now, I think that's a little outlandish, but like Cooper Flag's been getting it lately, right? Like Jamal Mashburn talking about how he would be the 6th best prospect this year in college. Like you forgot what he did to Team USA.
Yeah, I think Cooper Flag is, first of all, he's young. I think he just turned 19. Like, I have 3 sons, and he's only a couple years older than my youngest son. So it's like the guy's in the NBA. So I don't know why people are trying to just. I think because he was a great white hype, and I think people were kind of expecting LeBron-esque stuff out of him. It's like, he has the ball. But I don't know about taking any prospect, any rookie over him this year,
Yeah, I
because
think
what he does, I think he is going to be the type of player that most teams going to end up with anyway. Guys who are between 6'7" and 6'9", they can do what he does. We talk about the 6'2" point guard, 6'2" guard. I think if you're not just a knockdown shooter, it's starting to slowly going to get phased out, where it's going to be a lot of 6'4", 6'5", 6'6" guys running around the league, because you're going to have a lot of guys like Cooper Flag who are running around here 6'8", 6'9", handling the
yeah.
ball.
Are you
So
listening out there, Darius Acuff?
you're going to have to start getting matchup, because we talk about Trae Young. Like, Trae Young can't guard anybody.
Yeah.
And it's not his fault. He's a good basketball player. It's just that everybody that they're going to put you in the pick and roll is 3 or 4 inches taller than you, 34 pounds.
I'm interested to see who takes Darius Acuff in the draft. The point guard out of Arkansas. He reminds me a lot of Dame Lillard. I don't know if he's the shooter that Dame is, obviously, but his game just kind of resembles that to me. But he's listed at 6'3".
So
You know what I'm saying? So he's probably 6'1". Yeah. So I'm interested to see, how he'll do, especially March Madness is on its way. It's time to start looking at the bubble, y'all. It's almost here. The madness is coming. Get ready. But we will be back on Friday. And of course, we're going to have reaction to the rest of the trade deadline. We're going to have Super Bowl picks. Get ready. We're going to have
not a lot of Super Bowl hype.
We're going to have how many people are actually going to watch the Turning Point USA Super Bowl show. No, we're not going to talk about that. What up, Rez?
Kid Rock, baby.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like, Kid Rock and the gang getting it on while Bad Bunny is,
Brown.
It's going to be a show, I guess, And you know what? I know this is usually a say less, say more thing, but let me tell you what 2-5 hates today.
Okay.
I hate when people tell you what they haven't been doing. So I've been seeing people all week talking about, I haven't watched the Super Bowl in 3 years, but I'm excited for this Turning Point USA show. Like, nobody cares. Go watch your show in peace. We don't care what you haven't been doing. Just like when I listen to the Joe Budden podcast, Mark Lamont Hill's always talking about, he don't watch football, but he know everything going on. Like, I saw that this happened. I thought you wasn't watching football. Stop telling us what you don't do.
Yeah, I feel you. Like I said, if you want to watch that other halftime show, it's fine. Kane Brown has some good songs.
I like Kane. I went to a Kane Brown concert.
I think Kid Rock is probably going to do bar to the bar, the bang, diggy, diggy. You remember that classic that he had?
Yeah. Matter of fact, Kane Brown might be the last concert I went to.
Yeah, so, I mean, listen. But there's something I was sick of too. Stop saying we don't want Bad Bunny because he's not an American artist. Puerto Rico is an American U.S. territory. He's an American artist. He just speaks Spanish.
All right, well, that's enough of this shit. Keep the politics out of sports, right?
I'm saying, don't be dumb and loud. Right. I mean, I get it. You
use a lane.
I picked 3 Hall of Famers, and I think that they're going to get in. I could be wrong. That's fine. But I'm not going to stand on the desk if they don't get in screaming about it. It's like, okay, cool. I picked my 3. These guys.
Yeah, and somebody tell Mike to give some damn respect to Adam Vinatieri while we're at it.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying? But yes, we will be back Friday with all those things and much, much more. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for your support. We love y'all. Yes. Like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things, do all the good things. Liquid Death in hand. Check out Say Less, Say More. You know, El Residente is in the building. Say what's up to my guy, y'all. And then, we out of here. So see y'all in a few days.
Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chasing, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout. Mic check, lights flash, game time, stay ready. 2 vets in the zone, keep the pressure real heavy. Big hits, big plays, yeah, we breaking it down. Truth rings in your speakers, every word is the crown. From the north side hustle to that southern flame. Midwest grind, west coast of the game. Sports talk kings, yeah, we wear that crown. Turn